Ladies and gentlemen, Data here with some instant analysis, fan reaction. This one means a lot to me as a Canadiens fan. The Montreal Canadiens have traded Ben Chiarot to the Florida Panthers, who just cleared out some cap space earlier today by trading Frankie Vatrano in exchange for a 2023 first round pick, a 2022 fourth round pick, and Tyler Smilanic. Is it Smilanic? Not sure, but we will definitely find out soon as the Quebec media, the Montreal media, will be buzzing to have this prospect in the system. So what kind of player are the Panthers getting? What kind of prospect and picks are the Canadiens getting? Let's start breaking that down. But I will just say, as you can tell right now, I am ecstatic about this deal, especially after Josh Manson went for a second and a high-end prospect. A lot of people were thinking that Ben Chiarot would be around the same, maybe a second and maybe even a lower tier prospect, a first and a lower tier prospect, but it was around that area of a first or a second and like a B plus prospect, whatever. I don't really know anything about Smilanic. I'm gonna call him Smilanic, actually. It makes me smile. I don't really know anything about Smilanic, to be totally honest, but from what I've seen so far, what I've done in my research in like the last few minutes, as I'm trying to go as fast as my computer will take me, I'm impressed. And let's talk about this first round pick first. Actually, you know what? Let's get to Ben Chiarot first, the biggest piece in this deal. Ben Chiarot now, looking at the numbers, of course, start with Hockey DB. He's been on the Canadiens for 3 seasons now, signing as an unrestricted free agent coming from the Winnipeg Jets. Never a points guy. Don't get me, same as Ben, as Josh Manson. He's not there for the points. He is there for, let's go to the advanced analytics here. Down here. He is here for an 82 game average of 157 hits, 130 blocked shots, but he does have 20 takeaways to his 70 giveaways. He does take a lot of penalties, as can be seen by his annual penalty minutes. He takes about over 2 minutes a night, close to 2 minutes a night. Depends. I'd want to see an 82 game average on that, but I don't have the numbers in this hockey reference page here. Possession, rate metrics. Looking at even strength, he's on the ice for 2.84 but 2.7 against. Over his time with the Canadiens, it's been 2.7, 3, and 3.4. So pretty much an average of 3 to 3.05, I think, if my math and my brain is going correctly. Not ideal, but again, we're talking about the Montreal Canadiens here. In all situations, including penalty kill, that's at 3.4, 3.6, and 4.0. Not fantastic. And as Jay Fresh puts here in his this little metric, in this little diagram, honestly, numbers are not great. He's a physical defenseman who was asked to do far too much in Montreal this season. He loves to battle along the boards and in front of his net, chases hits, and takes a lot of minor penalties. As a Canadiens fan, that's something you can definitely see. So 0% here on the projected wins above replacement. Offense, whatever. Defense, 9% on even strength defense. I'm not going to pretend like I know everything about this chart because I'm not the one who made it. But just to say, you can tell that the numbers are on the lower end. There's a lot more red than blue. But Jay Fresh does go on and said, Chiarot is not as bad as his rating after this season makes him look. And he spoke about that in a bit of a deep dive in an article on Rinkside, eprinkside.com. Don't have the access to it as I'm not a member, but there is a nice article written about how Ben Chiarot can provide value in a depth role, but because of the market, he won't come cheap. So the Panthers paid up big time heading into, before making this deal, I haven't refreshed the page yet, they had no first and second in 2022 in this upcoming draft, a third, 2 fourths, and so forth. They had all of their picks in 2023, and in 2024 they already had lost their second. They had cap space, only about $787,000 in cap space. So Ben Chiarot as well, I didn't mention, he's coming at 50% retained, which is a huge boost for the Panthers. They now have $393,000 in projected cap space, extremely tight, and they have lost their first round pick in 2023. I'm not sure why it's not showing the fourth in 2022, but they also lost that. But that's pretty crazy because the Panthers, I'm not going to go out and say crazy things like, oh, the Panthers are going to miss the playoffs next year and this becomes a lottery pick. But the question is there as to whether or not the Panthers will be as good next season as they were this season. They have all of their core together, but they are losing a lot of their depth pieces. But again, they still have Reinhart, Barkov, Huberdeau, Bennett, Duclair. I'm not worried about the Panthers. I'm just saying, if they do end up, having some troubles, the depth isn't there, and they do get whatever, a second round exit next season, that first round pick in what will be a very deep 2023 draft class, instead of it being 30 or 31 or 32, maybe it's 23. And that goes a long way in a first round where 7 picks can mean a huge difference in prospects. Regardless, even if they do win the Stanley Cup next season, I don't care. It's a first round pick in a deep draft. More than I thought we would get for Ben Chiarot when it comes coupled with a solid prospect. So Ben Chiarot, talking a bit more about him, I'm focusing really a lot on his time with Montreal. If you want, you can look back at Winnipeg, but I don't want to go too far back into the memory banks. If you look at the defensive zone starts, he's getting a lot of ice time. He's touching the puck a lot, asked to do a lot more than he should be doing. Negative 8.1 for the relative Corsi at even strength, and that's a perfect definition. He was asked to do a lot more than he should have been asked to do. He gives the puck away a lot. He takes a lot of penalties, but he hits, he blocks, he has a lot of heart, and he fights hard game in and game out, as could be seen in the playoffs, where he played 25 minutes a night, over 25 minutes a night, 48 hits, 48 blocks, 88 hits. He did extremely well in the playoffs for the Canadiens on their road to the Stanley Cup final last year. He was eating huge minutes, and he showed that he's able to do it. It was just way over his head. So he's going to the Florida Panthers. He gives them depth, fantastic depth, because their defense can now be Ekblad and Weegar, let's say, Montour, Forsling. The third pair goes Gudas and Chiarot, as opposed to some of these league minimum guys they had at the bottom here, Lindbaum and Lucas Carlson. And as well, they don't need to move out any big names. Heponiemi, Denisenko, even Noel, Surdif, Tippett. Don't need to touch any of those guys, but they do trade away a solid forward in Ty Smilanic, playing out in Quinnipiac University in the NCAA. Looking at some of his numbers now, third round pick, 74th overall in the 2020 draft by the Panthers. 20 years of age. He's 6'1". He plays center. There had been some talk recently about the Canadiens taking that center from the Minnesota Wild for a second round pick. Not sure if that's going to happen now that they get this centerman, who is doing quite well. U.S. under-18 team. He's been developing okay. He was on the World Junior Championship roster. Didn't get to play, but over at Quinnipiac University, never heard of it honestly. 22 points in 38 games. Bit of a downgrade from what he was doing in 2020-21. Looking at the Elite Prospects page, though, it gives us a little bit more detail on the type of player that he is. At the under-17s, he had 3 points in 5 games. With the U.S. National Development Team Juniors, he had 9 points in 12 games. Never been much of a scorer, aside from like the 60 points in 37 games here with Colorado U16 AAA. But so he seems to be more of a two-way guy. Looking at his draft prospect profile, actually, back in the 2020 draft, he was scouted quite highly. 24th by Central Scouting, 25th by Bob McKenzie. Him dropping to, 74 was because of a broken finger, was because of a high ankle sprain, had mono, so he lost a lot of time there. And because there was not the U18 and no draft combine, he was projected to go no later than the second round. He ends up dropping to the third. Maybe hasn't got as much time in as he would have liked at the university level. Florida says, no problem with us, ship him off to Montreal, and now he can be a player who grows in the Canadian system. Again, I don't really know anything about this guy. I don't follow university hockey, but according to his profile here, strengths are skating, shot power, and gap control, but he's still working on shooting accuracy, puck control, size, and strength. He is 6'1", 177 pounds, has a big smile. That's why we call him Smilanic. Even if it's Smilanic, I'm going to call him Smilanic with that big smile. Offense 7 on 10, defense 6 on 10. Few voted awards here, leading scorers back in 2017-18. But all this to say, it seems like a solid enough prospect, and worst case scenario, it's still a first and a fourth for the pending UFA of Ben Chiarot, who you signed for $3.5 million back in 2019. You had no clue that he'd be eating the type of minutes that he did. You trade him away for a prospect of first and a fourth. It's a fantastic investment long term. He wasn't going to be coming back anyways. There are teams who are willing to give him money. And all I can say is thanks. Thank you, Ben Chiarot. You gave us a lot of headaches sometimes, but you fought hard, you had heart, you ate minutes like an absolute famished dog during the playoffs, and he was a big reason somehow for our success in the playoffs last season. But I gotta say, I'm still pretty surprised by the deal as a whole. The first round pick is unprotected. Not like they need to protect it, but it's unprotected. It's another prospect as well, and it's a guy who, barring any injuries, is going to be what for you? He's going to be a 5, like on your defense. He's going to be. I don't think he's going to really be a 4 on the Panthers. He's going to be a 5, and with some bounty kill time. It's a high price to pay. You know, if they win a Stanley Cup, if the Panthers win the Cup, no problem. No one is worried about that unless it really comes back to bite them 6 years down the road as Smilanic scores the winning goal in overtime to win the Cup. But it's, you know, that all gets forgotten. The price that teams pay at the trade deadline are forgotten. The prices that they pay when the Stanley Cup comes through. But if the Panthers were to fall short, anything short of a Stanley Cup final berth, when you give up a first and prospect and things like that, that raises eyebrows. And it's, you know, for a GM like Bill Zito, who is one of the best in the league, I gotta say, I don't know if I like this one for him. Not too sure. You know, you have extensions to Verhaeghe kicking in. You have a lot of good players, but you have prospects who are going to be pushing for ice time. So does it make sense to start trading some of them with picks for guys to go on runs? Absolutely. But it's a high price to pay. I guess that's what I'm trying. That's the main takeaway of what I'm saying here. It's Claude Giroux probably not going to happen. I think this is the team now for the Panthers. The Canadiens are happy to have an unprotected first round pick. It gives them more cap space. I'm not quite sure how it all works with the LTIR because of how over the Canadiens are, yet not using all that. But regardless, moving out Ben Chiarot now allows the Canadiens to perhaps broker some deals at the deadline to eat some salary cap. And now they have 2 firsts in 2022, a second, 3 thirds, 4 fourths, including the Panthers, 5th, a 6th, and 2 7ths. And now next year already, 2 firsts, 2 fifths, and all of their own picks. So things are looking good for the rebuild in Montreal. Still a lot to talk about, whether it'll be a full-on rebuild or an accelerated retooling. Are guys like Armia also on the way out in Montreal? Who's really actually going to stay on this team? Lehkonen would cost a first. I was reading that earlier today. Hughes and the organization love Lehkonen in the locker room. Gallagher, it's not that I wouldn't see him moving, but it's a tough contract to move. Same with Anderson, but Hoffman, maybe. Armia, Byron, Lehkonen, if the price is paid. Perreault for a 7th round pick, send him off. Other pieces like Dauphin could be moved for 6th round picks, whatever. That's why I could see this deadline being for the Canadiens. Similar to a few years ago, you know, Nate Thompson for a pick, bang. Nick Cousins for a pick, bang. Jordan Wheel for a pick, bang. Petrie might move as well. Just not too many players who are safe in this organization, and that's an okay thing. With this many picks, with the prospect pool getting deeper, adding Smilanic to the other forwards that are here, not that many who are signed. You got Mishak, ones that aren't listed here like Luke Tuck, just going off the top of my head. The forward pool is getting a little deeper right now, and that's what we love to see. So a bit of an extended analysis here as I went a bit more deeply into it, but Ben Chiarot off to the Florida Panthers at 50% retained for a first, a 4th, and Ty Smilanic, who has had some injury troubles, went later in the draft than he was projected to go, but the Canadiens and Kent Hughes would not have gotten him if they did not have confidence that he was going to sign and that he'd be a piece of this team moving forward. With Kent Hughes' U.S. Universities, colleges, and national under-18 team connections, especially with his own son, Jack Hughes, being in there. I'm quite confident that this 6'1" American will find his way into the Canadian system sometime soon. So thank you for enjoying the breakdown. I hope it was insightful for you. Just really going off the top of my head, it's not me doing a huge breakdown video. It's me literally giving my instant analysis as a Canadiens fan, going through the numbers with you as an average guy. I'm not going to try and call myself Pierre Lebrun and Darren Dreger. I'm just going to go through the numbers, how it looks to me. I gotta say, it looks quite good in my opinion. I'm excited to see what that pick becomes, what that prospect becomes, and wishing Ben Chiarot all the best in the future. I'm excited as a Canadiens fan. I hope you are as well. Leave your thoughts on this deal in the comments section below. Let me know who you think won, who lost. Was it a fleece? I'm seeing some people say fleece. Other people are saying, it's a no-name prospect and a 32nd overall first-round pick. It's not such a big deal, but I gotta say I'm quite happy with the return. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Be sure to subscribe if you aren't already, as you'll be made aware of all these instant analysis videos, NHL 22 franchise mode, FIFA 22 career mode, and much more on the channel. channel. So hey, take a couple seconds, scroll around, see if you like what you see. And at the very least, if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to leave a like, as it is very much appreciated. Looking forward to interacting with all of you down there. Another big domino falling here before the trade deadline, so the market just continues to heat up. Calle Jarnkrok being traded earlier today. Vatrano, like I said, where's Claude Giroux gonna go? Still lots of questions to be answered. So thank you for taking time to listen. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.